Hi guys, welcome to another episode. In this week's episode, I've got some new parts. I've also been sanding a little bit. And in this episode, I'm going to put down a little bit of filler. Right, we'll get to all those things in a few minutes. What I want to start off with is just saying a massive thank you to everybody. And that is because this week I have just passed 1,000 hours of footage. That means that you guys out there have watched 1,000 hours of Alice and the other cars that I've got and all the other stuff that I've done. But you've watched total 1,000 hours, which is massive, and it's really humbling for me. I started this channel just a bit of fun, just to put some stuff about the car, and hopefully somebody will be interested in what I do. And it's kind of snowballed from there, and I'm really happy with it. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody. I've also passed 350 subscribers, which is, to me, it's amazing. There's 350 people out there that have all pressed the subscribe button, which means 350 people are interested in what I've got to say, which doesn't really normally happen. But I mean, 350 people have actually enjoyed what I've done on this, and that's massive for me. So I'm really thankful, and I really want to say a massive thank you to everybody. And anybody that's watching this now that hasn't pressed the subscribe button, do it. It's down. It's about there. So yeah, do it. Press that subscribe button, please, so you don't miss anything. Right, well, I started at the beginning. I've got some new parts, so I'm going to show you what I've got. I've also done a bit of sanding, as I'll show you around in a few minutes, and I've also going to put down some filler in the engine bay. So we'll get on with some of that work in a minute. So I'm done talking now. Let's get on with some work, shall we? Right, so these are the parts that have arrived. Now, I talked about this one last week, and this is called a windage tray. And it's basically there to stop the oil coming up and hitting the crankshaft that's coming down and smacking into a liquid. And obviously, a liquid can't be compressed, so it will smash into it and it'll cause all sorts of problems. So this is what's called a windage tray. The other thing I've got here is the sump. And this is the sump from the Escort that I was talking about last week. As you can see, it's pretty empty in there compared to this piece, which is the piece that was the secondary piece. This is the piece that fits directly underneath the crankshaft on the original engine. As you can see, it's got a built-in windage tray in there. It's also got some baffle plates, which is basically for the oil. As it goes forward and backwards in here, as you're doing corners, it stops it from sloshing around too much and it keeps it in certain places. So this sump has got those parts in it, whereas the new sump, like I say, it's pretty empty. It doesn't really have a lot in there. And obviously, it doesn't have a windage tray. So I've been looking now then as to, how do I fit that then to the car? Well, as I talked about last week, here is the bolts for where the windage tray fits. And there's the 4 bolts, so that one there, and the other 2 on the other side is where it fits. Well, obviously you can't fit it too close because it'll hit the crankshaft here, so I have to space it down a bit. Now, the bolts that are originally there, which is this one, obviously they go up and they tighten straight up to the bottom of this. So I need some longer bolts to start with, which I can get hold of. And then the problem with that is that there's nowhere to fit the windage tray on the top of these bolt heads. So what I've found out is that the bolts for the Silvertop Z-Tech engine fit to this, and they do have the bolts for the windage tray on it. Again, as with everything else in Sweden, I can't get hold of those bolts. What I can get hold of is a complete block for God knows how much money, but if I do get hold of a block, nobody will want to sell me just the bolts from it. So it's going to cost me a fortune if I get hold of a block, and I really want the bolts for it. So hopefully Shane Baker will be able to sort me out with a set of bolts. And if anybody else knows of them, well, get them out on these Facebook groups and get them sold in that case, because they are pretty hard to find, especially over here. I did try with this bolt, as you can see, try to find the camera there, to drill a little hole in it. My plan was, if I can't get hold of the bolts, I can drill a thread into this bolt head, put a stud into it, and then put a spacer onto that bolt head. I didn't really want to weld onto this bolt. I was talking about that. I was thinking about perhaps welding onto the top of this head, but I think with it being a hardened bolt, it is 10-9 quality on it. So if I tried to weld it, I think the problem is that I'm going to weaken this bolt, and then when I try to torque it down, I'm going to probably snap the bolt. So I don't really want to heat this up and lose its hardening properties of the bolt. So that's why I was thinking of drilling a hole into it. It's, like I say, it's 10-9, so it's not impossible to drill into it. You need to go fairly slowly and with a bit of pressure on it, and it will actually drill a hole. That's about a 3mm hole in there. So it is possible to do it. If I don't manage to get hold of the bolts, then this is probably the route I'm going to have to go to get the bolts to fit, because I don't really know how else I'm going to get the windage tray to fit in there. So hopefully that's what I'll do. If I can't get hold of the bolts, I'll be drilling and threading very shortly onto this bolt, and hopefully that will work. But I'll let you guys know as soon as I know. So let's get on to the engine bay now then. What have I been doing on the engine bay? Well, as I said in the beginning, been sanding. So let's go and have a look what I've done. I've got some of this paper. It's just 120 grit paper, so it's not too bad. It's not too coarse and stuff, but what I did find when I tried to do it was that it goes straight through the paint. There's so little paint there. I think I mentioned it in one of the videos that I go straight through it. So if I try to do the whole car in that, I'm going to there's going to be no paint left. So what I got in the end is some of this, which is like a Brillo pad. It feels almost like you could do my dishes with this pad, but it's like a Brillo pad. And it's not too coarse. I do have a different colour, which is grey, which is a bit coarser, but as I found, I don't really need a lot because it does really, really go through the paintwork. So I've tried to look at here, and I'll try and show you that. So as you can see, that tiny amount of sanding, and I've gone straight through the paint. So it's really incredibly thin, the paintwork on this car. So it's been enough with this. So that's what I'm busy with at the moment, is going around the rest of the bodywork, doing most of the bulkhead. So most of the bulkhead here is already finished. There's not a lot left. I've been going around the tops of the struts. Like I said before, I don't really like the lines around there. So I'm trying to go around now and just clean all of that up to get it looking a bit neater. I've still got a little bit to do around the back. I have done part of the wing there, the inner wing. Part of the front panel is already done as well. I've not done all of it because I need to blow away some of the metal dust that's there from grinding. I've done part of the back of the front panel as well. As you can see, it goes through really, really quickly. I've done a bit on the front scuttle here. Again, goes through really, really quickly. I've started on part of the bonnet. Now I want to get the bonnet finished off probably today, because the thing that I need to do is all of these. Now what these are is when we straightened the bonnet, when we did the outside of it, and what the guy in the paint shop did was he used one of the heat. I'll try and put a clip of it, but he was using heat on this. So he put a machine on it, welded itself to the bonnet on the outside, and then he hammered it out. He kind of pulled it out. So all these dints, well, they're not, yeah, they're dints, I suppose, on this side, but they kind of went outwards that way. So what I want to do is put a light coat of filler over this, so that I can rub it all down and get the bonnet smooth. We did talk about this at the time of doing the bodywork, and we discussed about what to do with the underside of the bodywork. Now, what we found out was when we rubbed the outside of the skin, we noticed that the metal kind of warped really, really quickly. It doesn't take a lot of heat at all to warp this. So I really want a really thin coat of filler on there. We did talk about trying to cover up, put something in here to cover up just the gap, and then don't worry about this. But I keep looking at it. I mean, yeah, I can buy like a stainless steel mirrored plate to go in there, but to be quite honest, it's a Mark 1 Fiesta. As such, it's not a show car as such. I do want to be able to take it to car shows, and I do want to be able to show it off, and I think having some mirrored shiny plate there will just look a bit odd, to be quite honest. So I do want to paint it body colour. It is obviously the underside of the bonnet, so the quality, it doesn't need to be as good as the outside, which is why I'm quite happy to do it myself. But obviously I don't want to put too much heat in it and destroy what's been done on the backside. So I have to be really careful with how much filler I put on and how much I sand it. So basically, with me being able to go over with the red Brillo pads or scouring pads or whatever they are, has saved me a lot of heat. I've not had to put a lot of heat into the bodywork at all, because the paint just disappears. It's really thin on the underside. So I'm quite happy with that. So that's what I want to get to do today, is get these stickers off and then put down some filler so it can start to dry so that I can start to sand it. So yeah, let's get these stickers off and we'll get some filler down, shall we, and see what we can do from there. Right, so I've got the first coat of filler on this top edge. There's a few more bits like here and here that just need a little slight touch up. I've done down there, give that a nice rub down, so I don't think that needs any more. It's quite nice on there. The other wheel arch, that looks alright actually. Don't need to do any more to that. I'm quite happy about that. I've got a little bit to sand there on the strut top there, but that's not too much to do at all. It's not too bad. And I've started giving it a quick rub down. I'm running out of time tonight to do any more. So that just needs a bit more rubbing down on it, perhaps another little quick skim, and then I'm quite happy with that. That needs a bit of a sand, and that just needs a bit of a sand, and then I notice there's a little bit just there that didn't get any filler, so that's going to need some filler on it, and then a quick rub down there. So this engine bay is looking pretty okay, I think, and hopefully within a week or two I should be able to start getting some primer in this bay and then eventually get it ready for paint. Right, so if you like what you've seen in this episode and you want to see the rest of the engine bay get finished off, press that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Thanks a lot for this time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.